welcome to the first ever episode of the Margo Bros Show. I'm Jackson.
I'm Dylan.
And today we are going to be analyzing, discussing, and ranting about
2001: A Space Odyssey
by Stanley Kubrick. Okay, let's get into it. Dylan, how many times have you seen this movie start to finish?
Okay.
Two. Start to finish, just to the credits.
I've watched from the start and the end twice.
Okay, so I've seen
I
it.
haven't seen part of the end twice.
Okay, well, all right. It is what it is. So, last night we went to a local nostalgic theater company, movie house, and we saw 2001.
Yes.
And it was the first time we'd seen a film in a theater since the pandemic. So
the last movie I saw in theaters before this was Sonic.
Oh, wow. So which one was better?
It was close, definitely Sonic.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll debate that later. So, what was it like seeing a movie in a theater?
It was an experience. I forgot how many people talk.
Yeah, that is something I forgot. I was excited to go because I was looking for the escape, and I was thinking, oh, I'm going to be surrounded by these vibrant colors and Moonwatcher throwing bones in the air. And really, I heard a bunch of, oh, did he hit that?
Yeah, I mean, there were people in the crowd that didn't stop talking. I mean, these people must have not been watching the movie to the extent that they were explaining it to their fellow people that were next to the audience.
Give me an example though,
Dylan. So when Dave is trying to get through the airlock.
Oh yeah, by the way, spoilers. We're spoiling the whole entire film. If you haven't seen it by now, what are you doing? You shouldn't be watching the movie podcast.
You've had 52 years, okay?
53.
50. Oh,
okay. Let's
53. Okay, so Dave is going through the airlock. He hits the wall and then gets it close to the door, safe, whatever. And right after he hits it, I hear this guy to the right of me say to I don't know, his girlfriend or person, I don't know, sister. I don't know.
You know all the details.
It says, "Did you see that he hit the wall?"
As if that's the most thematically significant moment.
Also, how did you not see that? That was the center of the frame.
I guess that's fair. But at the same time, there were also people there that, they were really into it. There was this guy in, collared shirt and tie, and I could see him. He stayed for the entire credits. And
people were wearing 2001 shirts.
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
Yeah, I saw more than one person.
Well, that's nice. Okay, well, enough of our experiences. Let's talk about the film. Of the 4 segments, we have Dawn of Man, Hal, and Aliens.
Yeah.
Which
Aliens.
Which is your favorite?
My favorite? I guess I would have to probably go... I don't know, I like all of them, but I guess the Hal part, because it's probably the most... I guess the Hal part, because I really enjoy the whole conversing.
The dialogue.
Yes.
So a film where, a lot of the dialogue is improvised and there's huge segments. The beginning of the film, there's the first 25 minutes, no talking. In the last 20 minutes, no talking. You like the part with the talking.
I like dialogue. Dialogue's my favorite thing in movies.
Dialogue's your favorite thing in movies. That's why you don't like Tarantino movies, right? Okay. No. Well, see, that's my favorite part by far too, because I think as much of it as it is on the head of a battle between evolution of the different eras, and it's very obvious the way Kubrick wants us to sort of evaluate our place in the universe and our place in evolution. I think it is the most memorable, and because I've only seen the film start to finish twice, and I don't know it well enough to really understand all the hidden motifs and details, it's my favorite. Now, I also think that the Dawn of Man part and the conclusion were spectacular. Didn't you think that the finale was significantly more...
It was definitely much better than when you see it on our 22-inch monitor that we have. I mean, I think that when you see it on the big screen, all those bright colors and different
textures,
you really feel that experience much better. So, I mean, I don't know where, but if it's playing at a theater near you, definitely give it a shot.
And I think that, and you probably agree with me, the worst part by far are the Dr. Floyd segments.
I don't think it's by far. I think that it is comparable to the Dawn of Man.
So here's my issue. I think that all of the moments with dialogue are fine. None of the dialogue in the Dr. Floyd part. I mean, there's some interesting lines with his daughter, and there's some interesting lines at the conference, but none of it is quite as spectacular as the Hal and Dave.
I think that's fair. I agree. That's why I said that Hal's better. But I think that there's all this stuff in the sections that I think are so innovative and really fun. Like, I really enjoy them eating the food, all the different types of food that they have, from like the straw food that they eat and the sandwiches they have later.
But they do eat food in all 4 of the segments. And
yeah, but it originates that, and well as the grip shoes. And my favorite effect of the whole movie, and I know the end is really cool effects, but my favorite effect of the whole movie is how the pen's floating through the air when he's asleep.
That looked like
grabs it.
That looks like an early 2000s movie.
Yeah, do you know how they did that?
No, how did they do that?
So they took glass that was like really, really clear, and they put like adhesive tape that was like double-sided, like some of the stuff that you, like the sticky tape that's sort of gelatiny almost. You know that?
This anecdote needs to go on longer.
Okay, well they stuck the pen on that and they moved it slowly in a way to make it seem like it was floating. So and they did that a couple times.
It's very cool. One flaw I noticed, I didn't pick up on this when I watched it here, but when Dave's floating through space, did you see sort of an outline around him?
When Dave? Or do you mean his assistant?
Yeah, maybe it's his assistant.
The guy in yellow that
Yeah,
dies?
assistant. I think it's Mark, or
I don't remember his name.
yeah. Did you see an outline sort of around him? Like as if there was like a screen of visual effects sort of
like
placed.
they had a blue screen behind him probably. I mean, I didn't see it, but that makes sense being that it was in 1968.
Okay. All right. Okay, moving on to our next segment, which is called 10-5-1. So the way it works is there's going to be 3 different questions that all have answers as percentages. And the first question you can be plus or minus 10% off, second plus or minus 5% off, third plus or minus 1% off. All right. Now, if Dylan doesn't get all 3 of these answers, then if you comment the average of these 3 percentages in the comments below, then you get a shout out in our next video. Does that sound fair?
That sounds good.
Okay, so let's begin our game. So, what percentage? No, don't look down.
I'm not looking.
What percentage of the film's budget was used on visual and special effects?
It's got to be really low because, like at the end during that whole section, with a lot of like the galaxies and supernovas and all that stuff, it was just Stanley Kubrick experimenting with putting ink in his daily cup of coffee, his cup of Joe. So
Sure that wasn't just the inspiration and they did it on a much larger scale?
No, I'm almost certain.
Okay.
He was experimenting with that, and they probably brought it to maybe a bigger scale to an extent, but I know shots of it were that, and then they took the negatives of it and other stuff like that.
And the positives.
That's just the normal footage.
The electrons. Okay. So
I'm guessing it's going to be low, but at the same time, I also know that at the end, with the whole rainbow sequences going down like the tunnel, if I'm not mistaken, every second of that took 2 weeks to make.
Wow.
So that's a long time, and for a movie, so nowadays I think they film an entire movie in 11 or 15 days or something like that.
Really?
Yeah, I think nowadays it's around a schedule of or maybe 19 or something, but it's right around that. That's the usual blockbuster.
Okay.
I mean, for really really big games, things like Endgame maybe they would take longer, but just your average thing
The Hitman's Bodyguard's wife.
even at current. Yeah, so that took a really long time. So I'm gonna go with 80%.
The correct answer was 62%, and you are the biggest. It could have been a 72% because plus or minus 10. So you're wrong. So the budget, the total budget of the film was $10.5 million, and they used $6.5 million on special effects. So quite almost 2/3. All right, so you're done, but still try. Okay, so plus or minus 5%. Here we go. Though there are different editions of 2001 and different cuts that Kubrick did when he thought the film was too long, and different releases, using the Letterboxd official runtime of 149 minutes, and following the information from Mint.com, approximately what percentage of minutes are dialogue free? What percentage of the film has no dialogue?
Sorry.
But there's different ways to calculate it. But I'm picking 2 metrics that were easy to find.
Okay, Well then, I mean, Dawn of Man, that's no dialogue.
Yeah.
Infinite and the Beyond, has no dialogue. So that's
definitely where they got Infinity and Beyond. Did you think that?
I didn't think that, but that's actually a good point. And if you for some reason didn't get that reference, that's Buzz Lightyear from Toy Story. I know it's a side
Toy Story 4 too.
No? Okay. I know it's a side note, but remember that how they make that Lightyear movie with what's his name? Isn't that weird? I don't know, I just thought of that.
Not enough has been made for it. I appreciate not making a Toy Story 5. I'd rather have a Buzz film. And it's
not
making,
Buzz though. It's about
but it's about the real life astronaut that Buzz is inspired by.
No, but I mean I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that it's
called Lightyear, I think.
Yeah, I know, but there isn't someone really named Buzz Lightyear in real life. My point is that
it's all fiction, Dylan.
Yeah, I know, that's my point. I'm pretty sure it's like in the Toy Story universe, there's someone named Buzz Lightyear.
I totally.
Which is just sort of weird because it's like a whole other level.
No, but that's where Pixar is at its best, where it's adventure, but we're making things complicated, but not on a subconscious level.
I guess that's fair. I think that
great world building.
No one would think that that's the movie they're gonna make. I don't know.
But Chris Evans.
I don't love Chris Evans, but he's okay.
That's a thing for another day.
So
what percentage? Let's.
Well, okay, so that's probably around 50% right there. I mean, those are the shorter sections of the movie, so maybe like 40%. And then during the Hal part, like most of that's dialogue. So I'm gonna count that as like 25% dialogue. And then I'm gonna say, and the part before that is he's also has a lot of dialogue. So I'm gonna go with 40%.
All right, the correct answer is 59%. So basically, for every 5 seconds, 3 seconds are silent. Keep in mind, there's like a huge block, almost half an hour chunks on each end that have no dialogue. And the film is basically 150 minutes. So, right, that's 40% right there, plus all the long segments of the Dr. Floyd segments that have no dialogue. So, all right, final question. So the correct answer was 59%. All right. What is the, plus or minus 1%, what is the letterbox score of this film as a percentage? So, for example, 3 would be 60%.
Okay. That's tough, because, like, this is such a famous movie that I feel like it's got to be in the 4s. So I'm going to go with, like, 4.1 divided by 5, whatever that is. I don't know what percent that is.
All right, let's wait, because I know you can do it. All right, that's 82%. So the correct answer is 4.3, so 86%, so you're wrong again. So the answer is 86%. So if you average those three numbers, write that percentage in the comments below, and the first one to comment gets, what did they get?
A shout out.
In our next video. All right, okay, on to our next segment, fun facts.
I like this section.
So, after I'm going to say fun fact 1, fun fact 2, and fun fact
3.
Yeah, good one. You knew that number. Okay. So after I say them, whichever one is your favorite, comment that number of 1, 2, or 3 in the comments below. And whichever fact gets the most votes is going into our Fun Fact Hall of Fame. Maybe we'll write a book with all of these.
It's a big deal to be in the Hall of Fame.
It's Hall of Fame.
Not
Right now,
facts get in
right now there are 0 in there.
It's pretty prestigious.
All right, fun fact number 1. According to Mental Floss, Stanley Kubrick attempted to take out an alien insurance policy with Lloyd's of London. So essentially, Kubrick worried that he put millions into making this film about the theory of life in the cosmos, and then aliens would be discovered right before the film came out. So no one would have any interest in going to see a film about fake extraterrestrials. Lloyd's ended up declining Kubrick's request. What do you think about that?
I mean, it's interesting, because, I mean, when did this come out in 68?
68.
About, like, what month, you know?
Why?
Well, my point is just that on July 20th, 1969, the moon landing took place.
But it was before that. So
yeah, I know. My point is, that's like 7 months and maybe a little bit more, because 7 months plus the year in that, which is a very small amount of time. It could be possibly even less than a year than the moon landing. So my point is that it's a very valid concern, and it's pretty astute that Kubrick thought that we were very close to the moon landing occurring, and that he knew that if aliens were discovered on the moon, which was a possible theory, we knew really nothing. Like this, public citizens.
Do you have satellites or?
Yeah, but the public itself.
Yeah, something about man on the moon will decide.
Yeah, like we really didn't know. So I think that makes sense, and it's pretty astute that he was able to figure out, and not figure out, but like he was able to guess that it's not going to be very long before we get to the moon, and if we find aliens, this movie's practically invalid.
Yeah, I mean, this is a little different, but never. I was just gonna say that. What if we figured out that you actually can travel into dreams, and it was a lot more interesting than Inception, and no one would have any interest in Inception because the whole idea is that it's playing this sort of like metaphysical, interesting
I feel like a
world
better
of
example
reality.
of that would be like Jurassic Park.
Yeah, Jurassic Park. There we go. Or Jaws. If we find out sharks really exist. Okay. So, all right. Fun fact number 2. According to The Star, when Dr. Floyd video calls his daughter, who is played by Kubrick's real-life daughter, the call costs $1.70, which audiences in 1968 thought was funny because it seemed so high. Now, the online inflation calculator believes the call would cost $8.54, leading 2021 audiences to still laugh because the cost appears too low. So it was interesting that when we were in the theater, everyone, not everyone, but some people laughed at when $1.70 went onto the screen because I'm sure they thought, oh, that's really cheap for,
Yeah, for a phone call that's like thousands of miles
Or maybe
away.
they don't think that because that's not really how phone calls are charged these days. But
have you even seen a payphone?
But that's the other thing about laughter. The audience laughed.
Yeah, the audience laughed at the worst times.
Every time Hal said like, "I can feel Dave," or
like at the end when there's when he's traveling through the light beams or whatever you want to call them, like there's freeze frames of him in like pain and like his mouth's open and he's like his face is all like green.
Which I have mixed feelings about, but I think it really takes you kind of out of the reality for a second.
I think it takes you out of the reality, and I think that over time it's progressively going to become less and less like works and feels like wow. But like the whole audience laughed practically during this when it went back, and I feel like that was definitely not the right interpretation.
And Kubrick says the only joke of the whole film, or intended joke of the whole film, is when they have the zero gravity toilet. When people giggled at that too. That's probably the biggest giggle.
Yeah, that's probably yeah.
But it is interesting for Kubrick, who is such a master of sort of unconventional dark humor. Dr. Strangelove, haha. Well, I don't want to spoil it, but because you haven't seen it. Or A Clockwork Orange, taking very serious, dark, disturbing subjects and making them amusing and putting them in rhetorically silly ways, and and several others. So it's interesting that he didn't put that many jokes in the film.
Yeah, but I think that this is more of an exploratory film than more or less this is so much exploratory film than all of his other films.
Maybe. All right. Fact number 3. According to IMDb, although Hal was characterized as a chess wizard, the actual computer used during filming was lousy at chess. Kubrick, an excellent chess player, would often beat the computer and refer to it as a bumbling pisswit. So, yeah, if I had to pick a director who I would not want to play a game of chess or any board game or physical game, it would probably be against Kubrick. He'd just stare at me and I would shrivel. But, I think that's amusing. And not that devalues Hal, but I think that also shows, how far we have come in computers. Because
I think that, this is sort of stupid, but like, the little symbols that they used on the chessboard in the movie, if I'm not mistaken, it's the same symbols that they have on like chess.com.
Yeah.
So it's just sort of funny that
the game has
like 50 years later, we still use the same symbols, like it's the same everything. I think that's sort of funny.
All right. That has been Fun Fact. Comment 1, 2, or 3, and whichever one gets the most votes, or probably whichever one gets 1 vote, will go into our Fun Fact Hall of Fame. All right. On to our next segment, which is called Guest Caller. So we're going to call someone spontaneously and see what they have to say about the movie. Today, it's going to be our mother. You think that's good?
It's going to be our mother? Well, I was going to say we should have a guest caller during a different section of the podcast.
Oh, why is that?
When we talk about a comparison between different movies on which one's better.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, well, no, let's do our guest caller segment now. Okay. All right, let's see if she answers. I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous.
Okay. We're gonna speed this process up in the podcast.
Hi, you're on the Margo Bros Show. How are you doing today? We're doing well. So we're doing an episode on 2001. Have you seen that film?
Oh, yes.
So what do you think of that film? How many stars do you give it and why?
Okay, so at first when the film starts out, I'm thinking, seriously? And it's super boring, and I don't get it at all. And then by the time the whole thing ends, it's like, oh, I get it. And it's really good. And that, I don't want to give anything away.
That's okay. You can give away anything.
Give it away.
Well, the way it ends, I think, is really great. And the whole howl thing is super spooky. And I think they do a really good job with that, the voice and everything. It's very believable. And I think for its time, it's completely amazing, without a doubt. So, I mean, I think it's a great film. But I will say, it's not necessarily my thing. And I think part of that has to do with the beginning.
Oh.
And so I will only give that film a 4.
Well, that is a very good point. I some of your observations and criticisms I'm going to use later in my argument. Thank you so much for being on the show. We hope to have you again sometime.
Anytime.
All right.
Bye.
Love you, Mom. Bye. Okay, so that has been the Caller. All right, on to our next segment, Trivia Time,
The best section on the podcast.
where I make up obscure trivia that I find in my brain that probably can be found elsewhere, and Dylan tries to get it. Now, if Dylan gets all 3, then no one gets a shout out. Boo.
Ooh. I know. Yeah.
Oh, the villain. No.
I don't
But
want
if
any
he-
shout outs.
But if he gets 1 or more wrong, then the first person to comment all the answers that he didn't get right, and I'm not going to tell you what they are, then you will get a shout out. And it has to be a different person, so you can't be like, haha, I'm going to steal all the shout outs. I'm a film boy. Okay, here we go. Easy. Here are 3 questions, easy, medium, hard. Okay, trivia time. What 2 types of sandwiches do Dr. Floyd and the other scientists choose when they are traveling to the moon to see the monolith?
Chicken and ham.
Ding, 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 ding. I'm also
Those
a
sandwiches look so good.
These are supposed to be fake, right?
Yeah, they're not. It's not actually chicken and ham.
Alright, okay.
I think they look really good. They look like the most processed food ever, but they look really good.
We like our processed food here on the Margo Bros Show.
They make you think of what's it called? You know those peanut butter and jelly sandwiches?
Oh,
that
yeah.
Don't have
Literally have
Uncrustables?
like 500 calories and it's like 2 servings per one. Okay. Alright, medium. What type of cut is used between the shot of a flying bone weapon and the
Match
shot of a space vehicle among the stars? You know, it would be nice for you to
I'm
finish.
sorry.
Okay. If you are not the audience of this episode. Okay. Alright, so
Read the question again.
So what type of cut is used between the shot of a flying bone weapon and the shot of a space vehicle among the stars? It's one of the most famous match cuts, and in my opinion, one of the most overrated match cuts, because I'm always like, oh.
I feel like
it almost works.
matches, but it doesn't. It's just like,
And part of the problem is the bone is going up, and then there's a cut, and it keeps going up. And then we cut again, and so it doesn't feel like a continuous lift. Now I appreciate.
Well, my problem is that like it's turning in the air, and then like okay, so the ship that it cuts to is like this, and right before it cuts, it's like.
Are you gonna show some images of this when we do it?
Sure.
Okay.
And it's like spinning, and then like it gets to like here, the bone. So like if you cut it for like half a second more, it would get to here.
Or if it's just slowed motion, if you slowed it down a little bit.
I just think that it doesn't get to the point. It's like a half second before it gets to that position of the ship, but I just don't think it gets there.
And anyone who says, well, actually, that's intentional, is a Kubrick apologist and needs to branch out on films, okay?
I think it's good, though. I think that
it is good.
It's good.
But I wouldn't put it in my top 10 match cuts, okay?
You have a top 10 match cut.
I can't even think of another match cut off the top of my head. Oh, I can think of... No, that might be a jump cut. Okay, anyway. All right, hard. So there we go. Dylan got in the first 2. He's just doesn't want you guys to have a shout out. Okay, hard. What does Floyd's daughter want for her birthday?
She wants
Specifically.
a babushka doll.
Nope.
No. No. It's hard. No, I know it.
No, you got it wrong. Okay, well, you got to look it up.
I know I'm
gotta
so
look it
close.
up. Dylan doesn't know the movie.
Gosh.
Don't look at the end. Okay, well,
I can
you have
see
to
the
look it up.
answer.
I
can't
That
believe
makes
I got
think that they're cheating. All right,
I
you have to
can't
look it
believe I
up.
got that wrong.
It's 2 words. It's an alliteration. type that, and the first person to type that in the comments gets a shout out.
I think I could be closer to the answer than I was.
All right, here we go. Our main segment is Cinema Bash. We're going to have 3 little debates here. Hopefully we disagree on at least one to keep it interesting. All right. Debate number 1. What is a better film? Star Wars: A New Hope, which came out in
1977.
or 2001: A Space Odyssey, came out 9 years before, almost a decade. It's like the difference between The Social Network and Marriage Story, 2 very comparable films. Okay, all right. So let's hear it. Which is better?
I think that on a cinematic perspective,
I think on a cinematic, artistic, cinematic and enjoyable, and culturally significant, I go with A New Hope.
I agree. But on a explorative and artistic...
Explorative is not a word.
I think it is a word. And artistic perspective, I think 2001. I personally give A New Hope a higher rating. I don't give it a higher rating.
Don't tell me what you rated till the end.
I won't tell you what I rated it until the end because I know it's a segment on the show. A little spoiler for everyone. But I think that I personally don't find 2001 boring during any of it, in my opinion. I know some people do. But I think that there are sections that it's like, I like this is cool, but let's go to the next section. I don't think it's boring, but I'm like, let's get going, okay? In A New Hope, I'm like, let's stay, okay?
I agree.
I'm like, let's keep watching it. Let's make it 7-hour movie, okay? And it doesn't need to be that. It has a perfect runtime. But like, I love the themes. I love the locations. I love the characters, the dialogue. I think it's a great
plot, the world building. So here's what it comes down to for me. Not only if you put every single element of each film back to back, I think I would give the edge to A New Hope on everything but visuals and deeper, complex themes, which doesn't always mean a significant, amazing film. If you stack everything together, A New Hope wins on every single thing. And as a whole, it comes together to make a more enjoyable, memorable picture. Now, I'm going to compare 2 films that have probably never been compared before today together. Okay, The Graduate and
I haven't
Odyssey.
seen The Graduate.
Here's the thing: both of these films have been criticized for having a score, or not a score. I guess several pieces of music by either similar artists or similar genre. So in The Graduate, Simon and Garfunkel over and over again, and in 2001, it's a bunch of classical music that's dramatic over and over again. And both have been criticized for having that music too repetitive, too much in a row, but also heralded as these are some of the best soundtracks ever. And I think that The Graduate does it masterfully and enhances the plot. I'm not going to spoil why. We can, in the comments, you can ask, we can have a discussion about it. And I think it makes you feel a certain way, and it matches Dustin Hoffman's performance and the cinematography. And I think that there are times in 2001 that elevate far past, I believe it's Mike Nichols' direction, like the beginning, bomb, I guess I can't sing, with the eclipse and the final baby shot. But then there are moments where it's just Dr. Floyd sitting like this, and the music is like the most dramatic, or the thing's about to land, and it's like the most dramatic music ever. And I think that there are moments like that make you think the film is boring.
I think that's fair, but I think that the music helps a viewer understand the significance and the scale of everything. Because it's like if you look at the shot when it's not like an elevator, but the spaceship's going down, it's all red. And I know you say that's one of the most boring parts of the movie. And I think that the music fits there, and I think it's really good.
Okay, so we were discussing the shot coming down.
Yeah, so as it comes down,
the spaceship,
and it's all red, and that may or may not be boring. And I think that it's valid for it to be boring, and it's almost good for that to be boring, because I think that Listen. I think that it shows how long and complex the spaceships are, and everything isn't easy. Because I think that it compares and contrasts with the beautiful, slowly moving through space, and it's the nice music's playing, and it's great. And then it shows it's like this is a slow process, and the whole where they look at the computer and has to lock on right at the right spot or it'll crash. And I think it shows how complicated it is. Like
they stole that from Interstellar.
Like if you look at the SpaceX launches that are frequently happening now, and you see, and it's like, oh, they launched and they're into orbit, blah, 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 and it takes like, this is not going to be a correct time. Sorry.
Just because you're getting it.
It's not going to be a right time, but it's like, okay, we finished that in like 30 minutes, and they're like there. But then it's like, time to wait another triple that time to like get into the next phase.
But if commercial space travel is so everyday average as Kubrick is trying to make it seem, why make it take so long and not make it slick and cool?
Because I think that he needs to compare and contrast to show a realism to it, to make it show
the point of 2001 is not hyper.
It's not realism. It's to show. It's to take a look behind the curtain and to see like, here's what's going on in the space.
No, that's not the point of the movie.
But
The point of the movie is to get us to get the ultimate trip, for us to get lost in Kubrick's majestic visual design. Okay, not for us to think, oh wow, if I were Dr. Floyd, it would be so long flying.
But it's not what you're thinking. I don't think that when I see that it's, oh, we just touched down and we gotta go again. I don't see that as, this is a long trip. Blah, blah. It's like, and we keep going, and the journey continues.
All right. Point being, just because all of the space travel, well, not all, but most of the space travel in A New Hope is more interesting and exciting, that's not why I think it's a better movie. I think it's a better movie because it's one of the greatest adventure films ever made.
True. And
the way when you watch it, I think Casablanca is the best example of this, where the first time you watch A New Hope, the first time you watch Casablanca, you think, this is good, this is memorable, oh, that's a classic line, oh, that's another classic line, that's another classic line, and a classic scenery, and then it's
okay.
And oh yeah, Darth Vader is pretty cool. It's the same thing in Casablanca, and oh yeah, Rick's, I've heard of that. But then when you go back through it again, every single thing, stands out like a goosebump of excitement. And there are certain movies, I see all the time on TikTok, like, oh, movies I'd kill to watch again.
For the first time.
For the first time, thank you. There's so many movies that I love that I liked more on my second and third and fourth
I agree.
watch.
I think that the first time you watch a movie, I would say 85 to 90% of the time, it's better on your second watch. Because I think that you pick up on the deeper messages as well as a more enjoyable time. Because the first time you're watching it, you
should be confused if it's a good film.
Yeah, you're like, what's he saying? Who's that? Oh, okay, I think I'm getting it now. And then when you watch it again, you're not thinking, who's that? What's going on? You're thinking, oh.
Yeah, and if the film is too plot-driven and there isn't enough deeper messaging and character development, then it will be boring the second time, which shows a weak screenplay and not brilliant direction. Now, Star Wars, people say, oh, it's basic, blah, blah, blah. I disagree, because when I went back to Star Wars the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh time, it was maybe not better each time, but it slowly increased, and now it's one of my favorite films ever. 2001, now I've seen like 2.5, almost 3 times, and the jump from first to second wasn't nearly as dramatic as I expected it to be, given how high it is in the top, like 70 or 60 on Letterboxd, and given how much critical acclaim it gets. And it did have a certain artificial sense to it, and you can make the argument that, that's the point, but it isn't. Hal was only 25% of this film. There's a deeper sort of humanity, beyond the machine, beyond the monolith, that I think he wants us to connect with, and I don't feel that connection the way I do with Star Wars. All right.
I mean, I agree that Star Wars is better, but I think that you're bashing on 2001 just a bit too much.
Fair. All right. Second, I'm going to go from the most anti-2001 to most pro-2001 in this next debate. Here we go. Who is the best AI villain in a film? Here are my 3 options. Ash from Alien. He's the
I know who
AI.
Ash is.
Roy Batty from Blade Runner.
A movie I saw 7 years
Or
ago.
Hal from 2001. Okay, my least favorite is Ash from Alien. And your least favorite is probably Roy Batty.
Yeah.
Okay, but you don't have any real criticism because it's been so long.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here's my problem with Ash from Alien. To me, this is gonna get playfully anti-British here. He's British, right?
Yeah.
He felt more just kind of like a really smart, not family man guy than an actual robot. He just seems someone because
That's-
there's so
okay.
many characters. Hold on, there's so many characters in films that are like, I don't care about my own life or the life of humanity. It's all about the progress of science, right? And to me, that character felt like one of those uber scientists. And so him being an artificial intelligence didn't really enhance that for me personally.
I think you're missing the point of his character. Because I think that his whole point is that he blends in with the humans, which allows him to take over.
But does he really take over?
He fails because Ripley kills him.
But and I guess Hal fails as well.
Yeah, Hal fails as well. But Ash is so good because for a while you don't even really think he is an AI or a robot. You think he's just another crewmate, and then you realize you got these white pus coming out of him, and he's doesn't care about anyone else. He just wants to continue the mission, and I think that it sets a really interesting precedent for the rest of the Alien series, as well as Prometheus and Covenant.
I agree, having not seen any other of the films besides Alien.
Because I don't know, I really find that whole. And I mean, Hal obviously paved the way, and I think that Hal's better.
Yeah, Hal's the best.
Hal's by far the best, but I think that Ash really brought that to. Another level, by really imitating the humans to another. I just really believe his character.
I think that's fair, but I think that Roy Batty is a far more interesting human artificial intelligence, and so that's why I put him a second, because I think that Ash sort of tries to be both, which is fine. And if we listed 100 different AI, we would probably spend 20 minutes talking about why Ash is so good, because compared to 94 of them, he's amazing.
Yeah.
But when I'm comparing to my two favorites, okay, I'm going to be critical. Roy Batty giving the monologue, memory or something is like tears lost in rain. It's such a, robotic poetry that is more human and relatable than anything that than poets have made recent. Not poets have made. What I mean is, there is a style of poetry, and a lot of modern pop artists do it, where they write a poem or they write some song lyrics, and then they shuffle it around, and then they sing it that way and make it rhyme to make it seem like they're using deeper, complex things when it's really just the word "the" should actually be before the word "bat." Okay. And so I think that there's some poetry like that actually made by humans which is less important than.
I think that's valid, but I don't really remember his character at all, being I saw this movie a long time ago, so I can't argue on that.
Yeah, he seems to have real feelings in a way that is a created, man-made way. But Hal's the best.
Hal's the best. By far.
In order to just have not even the full red circle, 2/3 of a red circle, just show us and quiet.
I'm afraid I can't do that.
I'm afraid I can't do that, Dave.
Okay,
That's
get a little bit closer to the
that's. But what makes Hal so good?
I think it's all of it combined. I think that his voice is so good, his dialogue is so good, the character design itself is so good.
The arc. He has the greatest arc. Because that's the thing with these other two characters. Ash is bad the whole time. Roy Batty is bad, but relatable and connects to the audience the whole time. Hal is mysterious evil, okay? So and then powerless, and I think that boom bop is incredibly profound.
Yeah, and Hal. Okay, I know this is really stupid, but
Hal is red.
No, Hal is so marketable.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And it allows it to stay prominent in our culture. You don't see. Oh, I'm gonna go get a T-shirt with Ash on me, or Roy Batty,
There's probably some.
There's probably some, but you don't see that. You see Hal T-shirts. You see Hal wallpapers.
He's been my Zoom. Been my Zoom.
How's my wallpaper?
My Zoom profile picture all year, and I love joining Zoom meetings, making that most individuals probably.
I've been trying to search for a text-to-speech download of Hal, so whenever my computer talks to me, it's in Hal's voice.
Hello, Dylan. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I just think that everything about him is. This makes it sound like it's not good, but it's so designed to
make us
like
it's such an image that is ingrained in our
Yeah.
brains with such a more complex human emotion that seems contrived that I think will never be replicated and done better. That there's some things in movies where we think this is the best now. Like I think Citizen Kane is right now the greatest movie ever made, and it's not my favorite opinion, but that doesn't mean I think that it'll always be that way or always seen that way. There are some lists that have Vertigo or The Godfather or Casablanca higher, but I do think that Hal will always be the greatest AI character, and that might change, but I really doubt
I think he's so simplistic yet so great. It's like how cats chase after that little red dot. I think that Hal's our red dot that we chase
Okay, Dylan. Okay, our final debate. 2001 or the far superior
after.
Interstellar?
The far inferior Interstellar.
Okay, so I think Interstellar
I think 2001.
takes... So let me use my pizza analogy I used for you earlier. So 2001 is like bread, and Interstellar is like pizza. Okay?
No. 2001 is like bread, sauce, cheese, and toppings, and then Interstellar is like
The box.
a little bit of salt that you put on there, or maybe some oregano.
So I think that Christopher Nolan, who clearly, 2001's probably in his top 10 movies, okay, based on the
It's
film.
like a direct copy.
Okay, it's not a direct copy, okay? So Interstellar takes all the best parts of 2001, takes all of the boring parts out of the way. There's no moment of that movie that is boring, okay? Makes a film more about the human condition, and has better dialogue. I wouldn't say I'll give 2001. I'll say the visuals are better. Now the visuals are better in Interstellar, but comparably for 1968,
Not. I'm sorry.
Dylan, if both of those movies were made in 2021, which would have better
the
visual
effects would be different. The effects would be better.
But that's not my point. That's not my point. You can't just.
I still don't. Even if they came out the same year, I still think that 2001's effects are so much cooler.
Okay, but Dylan, hold on. The visual effects in Endgame are better than the visual effects in that new superhero movie made by Netflix. Not the. I think it's a TV show. I don't know what it's called. But Endgame came out before. Okay, so we can spend a little time. I know there's a huge difference.
I don't think it doesn't matter the scale or theoretically technical value, because technically to make Interstellar they used these high quality PCs, blah 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 blah, and they didn't use high quality visual effects for that. They used high quality visual effects, but you know what I'm trying to say. So I think 2001's effects are so much more engaging to the viewer and memorable, because the book sequences are cool where he's pushing it in, but it's gray and brown. It's ugh.
But I think that's the point, because we're supposed to. So Christopher Nolan took something so rural and non-complex like farming, took something the most beautiful
Farming's pretty
space.
complex.
Okay, let me rephrase that. The most screen technological, far from the earth, futuristic occupation there is, and made a movie where he combines that with the final frontier and the most spectacular visual film, in my opinion, ever made, okay? And he took those two things, space and farm, and made this sort of complex meshwork that I think 2001 fails to do. And I know 2001 has, and I get what Christopher Nolan was trying to do, because instead of, apes and then space, he took, something that connected more to us than past evolution. It was farming, which, we see and we eat, and some of us do. And I find that sort of more narrow, direct, sequential ordering is more memorable than this big scale, massive trip of the apes and the aliens.
I just have to disagree on that. I think that when I see Moonwalker, which is the ape at the beginning.
No, it's not Moonwalker. It's Moonwatcher, I think.
Moonwatcher, you're right. Sorry. Did I ever say that in the movie? It's only in the book. So when I see Moonwatcher hold up that bone and smash it down on the cow skull,
Yeah.
that's just so much more compelling to me than we're running out of crops. Like
I don't. I so disagree.
I think it's so much more compelling. I get goosebumps every time I see.
Oh, of course I do. It's one of it's the greatest skull bashing in cinema history.
Because there's all the skull bashing that you just love.
Oh no, the Hobbit Desolation of Smaug. Here's the thing.
Okay, but I just think that all of the sequences in their farming, and they're like, there aren't any more crops. We need to leave. You need to leave. During all of that, I just think that I just feel like, oh no, they have asthma.
I don't feel that. You have no soul if you think that. You're telling me that when Cooper leaves Murph to go into space and he's holding her, don't leave it like this, Murph, you don't feel an ache in your heart?
That part's good. But when they're all like, burn the crops, we need to leave. I need to go over to old Tom's house to make his crops too.
Stop. No, what about the part where Michael Caine shows Matthew McConaughey he shows him all the plants, and he's like, yeah, everything's gonna die. Everything is going to die. And then Matthew McConaughey's like, no, we still have corn. And then the corn will die. Okay, like that. And they're showing the seedling like dying. That doesn't. And he's like, the first people to breathe or will starve or something like that.
Okay, sure, that's like, it's good filmmaking. It's a 4.5, but I think it doesn't even come close to the whole skull bashing and the whole that he figures it out, and then his whole tribe gets the sticks, the bones too, and then they like beat that one ape. I just find that so much more compelling.
I don't at all. I think that if 2001 was an hour and 15 minutes, it would be the greatest film ever made. Probably in my opinion. Okay, if you chopped off all of these long, just going, and that's the same.
That's what makes it so good.
Yeah, but Interstellar. So, Interstellar, the final scene. Hot take, you ready? The final black hole scene is better than the final.
No, stop.
All of the visuals, because it strikes more of a chord, and we've seen all of these things before, and it's a new lens and it's bookmarks. And Christopher Nolan, we know all of his little tricks of starting and ending. What's the difference, okay? But Stanley Kubrick, starting and ending, I guess he tries to make a full circle, and I know, my mother says that the Dave baby, really makes us feel like they're, coming back to Earth, and we're having a exit evolution or a re-evolution, and we're starting sort of a new wave of humanity that's so far beyond the cosmos. That's great, but I think, okay, cool, it's a great period, or it's a great extra little salt on the recipe. It's nothing like the motif of love of Cooper going out to find Anne Hathaway.
Okay, but I see 2001 as a look at humanity, look what we've done, look how far we've gone.
And I say
it's a celebration of humanity.
And I see look at Interstellar as look at fatherhood. Okay,
I'm not a father.
Okay, I'm not. Well, my nephew's in these. No, here's the thing. Both of these are amazing films, and I just think it's a personal taste and personal choice. Now, here's the thing.
Okay, obviously it's personal taste or choice.
Well, no, there are some films that are rehashings, modern rehashings, either direct remakes or
like Interstellar 2001.
Well, no, but there are other films that strike huge inspiration off of their source material. And I think that the majority of the film community would say you're crazy if you don't think that the original one is better. And I just don't see 2001 as having enough human interest to match Interstellar. And I think, maybe in the next 10 years, some other director will come up with an even more interesting space movie, and that'll make Interstellar kind of fall into this realm of gravity and the modern Star Wars films. But I think...
Okay.
But I think right now
that is a bit far.
But I think right now, Interstellar in 20 years will be seen as 2001 to 11. Okay.
No, it will
2011.
Not,
okay.
It will not be 2011.
Okay.
Because 2001 is just. Do you not?
No, I think it's
not
more...
a single point in Interstellar where I'm not like. You know what I mean? I'm not.
Really? You're saying when the. I I don't know the name of the space. No one knows the name of these space things. When the thing they pod onto is spinning and the music is playing.
Okay,
Hans Zimmer.
Okay, fine. Let me rephrase that statement.
Or the waves. No, that's not a mountain. That's a wave.
There is one time in Interstellar when they lock onto the spinning thing after it's like broken after Matt Damon screws everyone over. Okay, that part is cool, and that part I'm like, let's go, we got there. But in 2001, there's like left and right over and over again. I'm like, yes, Dave, you did it. And I'm like, move.
If that were a short film, I would say it's the greatest short film ever made. But you have to evaluate it as a whole.
I think that you're not buying into the characters as much as you need to.
No, I have one. I think Dave is fine, and I think Hal is great. But I think that Anne Hathaway's character and
hear me out.
Matthew McConaughey's character and Michael Caine.
To sum up the movie in a broad sense, we have the cinematography, the dialogue.
No, I never like evaluating movies. We can agree on this. On those TikTok pages that are like, okay, cinematography, 4 out of 5.
Yeah, that's so
acting,
stupid.
4 out of 5.
So stupid.
You can't evaluate it like that.
Okay, you can't evaluate it, but just hear me out for a second. The cinematography is better in 2001.
For the time.
Not for the time.
No. If you lay them back to back, fine. Maybe
the
cinematography, but the editing, there were a couple, not even the match cut. There were a couple, the music stopped too early, and
I'll throw Interstellar a bone and give them editing.
Yeah.
Okay? Cinematography is leaps and bounds ahead.
Okay, I'll say fine. You give the edge 2001. Editing, I would say Interstellar.
Dialogue is better.
No, Dylan, it's not even close.
Name a single line from Interstellar.
You're looking at your. Hold on.
You're
not supposed to
knock out. Okay.
You're not supposed to look at your parents when you die. You're supposed to look at your children. Remember that part? Or, I'm sorry, Murph. Why'd you name me Murphy's Law? Right?
I only remember. It's not Morse, Murph. It's binary.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, that's the only line I remember from that movie.
Okay.
You can list off like the back of your hand.
Just because there's a lot of
2001.
Okay, no. Just because there's a lot.
It's not just because there's famous quotes. That means they're meaningful. That means they stick with you. That means it's good writing.
Okay, how many of those lines are there before besides open the pod bay doors, Hal? And I'm afraid I can't do that, Dave. Name how many more iconic lines are there from that?
Okay, we have 2.
Okay. These better be on the level of we'll always have Paris, okay?
Okay, you remember that scene where they're like looking at their television and he's like talking and they're like saying happy birthday? Isn't that a famous line where he's like
happy birthday?
No.
No, there's not. There is.
Okay.
No.
Even if they're not.
I would give the edge to Interstellar. Okay. I think we've stated it. Interstellar is more of a human focus, and I find it more endearing. I think it's going to be put in the Shawshank caliber, the way where it's not in the Pulp Fiction caliber.
No one talks about Shawshank anymore.
People do. It's in the top 20 on Letterboxd, top 25.
Yeah, I don't see people talking about it.
Yeah, they do. It's the number 1 movie on IMDb.
I don't trust IMDb.
I think it's Shawshank's one of those movies where I don't know that many people who say it's in their number 1, but I know so many people who put it in their top 10. Okay,
I don't put it in my
and
top
I think
10.
Interstellar.
Wait, do we put it in my top 10?
I put it in my top 10.
I
think
think
Interstellar is going to be like that. It's not going to be one of these movies like Pulp Fiction or There Will Be Blood or No Country for Old Men,
so good.
where it's sort of a specified taste, like 2001. I put that. I think Interstellar is going to have universal appeal. It's one of the most. It has the most top 4s on Letterboxd, not the most, but one of the most. So I think that it's going to continue to get not a cult following, but a universal appraisal.
I think that with time, I might grow to like Interstellar to a 5. Okay? Because I'm at a 4.5 right now.
I give it a 5, clearly.
We just sort of ruined the next segment, but
No, we didn't say 2001. We're talking about Interstellar.
Okay. Which I may or may not also give.
Just all right. On to our final segment. So.
Okay, I give 2001 a 5, and I give Interstellar a 4.5.
Okay.
And there may be a point if I watch it like 2 or 3 more times that I will give Interstellar a 5. But I highly, 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 highly doubt that I will give it a higher than 2001, just because I think that I respect the filmmaking more in 2001 than I respect the filmmaking in Interstellar. That doesn't mean I don't respect the filmmaking.
I
but I
respect
just
our
respect it more.
filmmaking the most, Dylan.
Okay,
And
fair. But I think that the technological achievements made to make 2001 the incredible masterpiece that it is are not even close to than what Interstellar did.
But see, I'm gonna get mad at you now because this whole respect the filmmaker thing, that's part of the problem with cinema and nominated films.
But it's not that I'm respecting them. It's that I see the uniqueness that they've brought to the table, and I like that uniqueness. I'm not getting anything like that in any of the movies I've ever watched.
But I'm tired of people just, I respect Martin Scorsese, I respect the Coen brothers, so even this movie I didn't like that much, I'm gonna give it a 4 stars.
I'm not saying that. I love Stanley Kubrick, but I'm not saying I'm just giving it because of that. I'm giving it because I see how much works into the production design and how unique it is and how I enjoy the work because that amount of work produces such a great result that you don't see in a lot of movies. Sorry for leaning.
Fair, but I think that every single movie has a ton of work.
I think every movie has a ton of work, but I personally prefer the traditional non-CG ways of innovation that I see them.
Yes, Dylan. Anyone who would watch an hour-long podcast about a movie is gonna think shooting on film is better and lack of CG is better. And yes, of course, I agree with you on all those things.
It's not the lack of CG. It's that it's Stanley Kubrick's way of figuring out ways to show things that no one else would ever figure out.
But I think that
It's
Christopher
just-
Nolan has enough innovation though, with the bookcases and it's like a string quartet and all of the side. Even though I don't love these, all of the side shots, it shows it's continuous and all of the different planets and the betrayal and the motifs of love. I think they both we've hit this nail more than needs to be hit. I think they're both fabulous films. I give 2001 a 4.5. I think there's too many moments that, the whole point of the film is, to escape into this reality and to ponder bigger human consciousness. And I find myself more thinking, this music doesn't really fit here. And I'm not sure if there's an overall arc that really connects to me in a way that is excellent. There's a great arc, but excellent. And finally, there's too many iconic moments, though, to label this as, this is just an artsy, silly film. So high 4.5, but I can't bump it up to excellent 5 because there's too many moments where I'm not buying in to the trip that is before me.
I mean, I think that 2001 is a magnificent film. I personally am not bored during any of it. I mean, you might want to bring a snack just to I like snacking during a movie. But Interstellar also great, 4.5. Maybe a 5 on a rewatch. So I'm not going to say I have any problems with it. But, I don't love the ending.
Okay.
So.
Well, that's a pod. We can focus more on that on
It's not that I don't love the ending. It's just that I think that you should care about your family more than some random Anne Hathaway.
We can get that.
You just saw your daughter for the first time in 1,000 years.
You don't pick up on the greater theme. We'll discuss that another day.
It's not that I don't pick up on the greater theme of love. It's that you should care more about your daughter.
Is it in your top 20, you think?
Yeah, it's definitely my top 20.
Right.
I might even move it to my top 10 if I'm really feeling it.
Okay, I'm nowhere near there. But it's a great movie. Other than that, thank you so much for watching the
Thanks for watching.
first
I'm
episode
Dylan.
of the Margo Bros Show. I'm Jackson,
I'm
and
Dylan.
we are the Margo Bros.
See you next time, folks.
Cut.